Hey everyone, it's Shelly, and I know that the folks who are teaching 7.5 week online courses probably have already had a deadline and are starting to get ready to grade. And with the use of um, rubrics in the course for the homework, even those of you who've graded with master courses before, it looks and feels slightly different. So I want to share this video with everyone who's teaching online this semester and using the master courses. Okay, so just FYI, if you're ever down in OIA and talking to one of the Marks, Mark Felix, Mark Bryant, sorry, it's early, tell them thank you for giving us sample students because it allows me to make this video and not compromise student data. Okay, so I'm in the English 102 master course, but this should look and feel the same as everyone else. So here's one of the big differences. I'm going into grades of attaching. So you'll see here in the grade listing, almost all of the homeworks are associated with something else. All the homeworks and all the assignments. The major project assignments will be associated with the drop boxes for turning those in once they're made. The two that are not associated here, they're the ones where it was go comment on a Google Doc. So obviously it couldn't be associated because you have to go look at that elsewhere. There's still a rubric there, and you can use it, and I'll show you how. Okay, so one, noticing that everything's associated. Now, if I click over here to enter grades where you get the course list, what you see as work fills in, as students do work, the little icons here, I'm going to make it bigger. The little icons here show that the student has submitted something, and then if it has the little blue starburst next to it, it means it's a post that you haven't looked at least according to the system you haven't looked at, and you haven't marked as read, if that, hopefully that makes sense. Now, I'm going to go back to manage grades. So the way I'm suggesting now that most of these have rubrics attached to them is you might actually want to do the grading directly through the grade book. So I'm in the grade book. That was the introduce yourself assignment. I'm going to not right click, I'm going to click on the down arrow, enter grades. And now this looks a little different. What you got here, again, is one, you have the submission column, and when it shows the little blue starburst next to it, it's saying that, at least according to the system, you haven't read it. And I like that because then it's this marker that I haven't graded it. And then over here on the right-hand column, assessment, it has connected the rubric. Now here's the interesting thing. In basically, unless I made a mistake. In all of these assignments, I have connected the rubric in two places. I connected the rubric in the assignment prompt, so in the actual area under discussions or assignments. I have also connected the rubric in the assessment area. And I've done this to give you options, but the rubrics, as with any technology, there's minor glitches. So let me show you what I'm excited about, how it glitches, what you can do to work around, and then to kind of give you your grading options. So what I'm most excited about is right here, we're in the gradebook view, we're looking at these things that, according to this, I haven't read, I haven't graded. If I click on it, what it takes a few seconds to generate is one, it generates, there's the rubric. Two, it generates the general feedback box, and that all grade columns have, right? Three, it actually at the bottom includes the postings that the student put in that connected area. Now, this particular posting asks the student to have an initial post and then to reply to two others. So what you see here is just the student's work. And even though it doesn't, it doesn't distinguish, you can tell, well, not even by time because I did it so quickly. But yes, so the student did everything here. So by clicking open this box, I'm excited because I can see the student work. I've got the rubric going on. Woo, I can grade this. The homework rubrics, just so you know, all have three criteria. Well, I made three criteria, and then depending on the homework is whether or not they all show up. The major criteria is completing the initial prompt. So whatever the homework is, there's some initial thing they had to do. And notice to get acceptable they had to do all of it. Accomplished and exemplary are about making sure there's significant details. They really engage with it. Um, uh, there's a giving replies one, and then there's also a reflection one. This assignment didn't require reflection. And all of once you look at the rubrics don't change. So the complete initial prompt all say the same thing. The replies all say the same thing. So again, acceptable is that they did the replies, but um, accomplished and exemplary about pushing it, sincerely engaging, pushing their classmates, blah, 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 blah. Um, and then the reflection one basically lists a bunch of different ways that they might reflect. And, exemplary says do 4 of those, accomplished says do 3 of those, acceptable says do 2 of those, minimally acceptable says do 1. Okay, so these are here, and notice you can click on different ones here and it'll do the math for you. Isn't that wonderful? um, so a couple things to tell you. D2L was glitchy, that in theory, if you select these things, actually no. Oh yeah, if you select them, notice this criterion feedback, it would put that in there. And you could edit it. You could add to this. Here's the glitch. You can't do that. You can't do that and grade from the side that's attached to the, I'll spit this out, sorry. Grade from the side that's attached to use the rubric that's attached to the assignment prompt. So basically, let me click back out of this. So basically, if I click and grade over here on submission, I can click these things. So I'm going to say it was an accomplished, I'm going to say it was accomplished in both cases, right? I do, in the upper right hand corner here, if I want it to push the grade, I have to hit publish score on save. If now here, this is really important. If I want to leave, well, no, I'll come back to that. So I have to push publish score on save, publish score on save, and then hit save and close. So it asks to overwrite, yeah. So that's the slower, and voila, it has pushed the grade there. Now here's the bummer. If you grade on this side, that lets you see the prompts. It won't show the rubric what you've clicked. It just shows a grade. And if you put comments, so I'm going back in here, if you need to leave comments, the only ones that push are if you leave comments and general feedback. I know that sucks. Now, if you use this assessment rubric over here instead, so I'm now down to student 2, and I'm going to click on this assessment rubric. Notice all I have is the rubric. I don't get the student work in there. But again, I could click. I could even change this. I could change it, hit save and record. It put the number. So now part of it's like, well, Shelley, what do you mean in these visuals? Let's go look at the student. Okay. So student 1. Student 1 is the one I graded over on the left side using the rubric attached to the assignment prompt. If I scroll down here, there's that, there's the number, show comments. Notice there's no feedback. I didn't leave feedback. And it doesn't show this filled out because remember, I didn't fill it out in the assessment side, in the gradebook side. It just pushed the number. If I had written in feedback, it would have pushed the feedback to here, but it doesn't show the completed rubric. Now, if I go back to student 2, and we go look at student 2, and scroll down, there we go, homework. Okay, so there's the number I pushed. I'm scrolling down. This one, because I used the rubric, that was attached to the grade book, it does show which columns I picked. And if we scroll to the right here, it even shows the comments I left. I went in and edited it. I know, painful. Um, it's basically D2L teases us with the best of both worlds, but doesn't let us do it all in one fell swoop. So cancel. So all that to say, it's kind of your choice that whether you grade. So I'm going to go back to here and to enter grades. It's kind of your choice whether you grade on the left and see what they're posting and but just push the number. And if you want to push comments, so and pretty much folks, if you don't click exemplary, they're going to want to know why they didn't get full credit, so you got to give them some comments. Or you can assess, you can use the rubric over here on the right, which will push the rubric information. And then you have to grade with two windows. So you basically have to have one window open that's showing the work, and then the other one here that you're using this assessment. Now, last but not least, if you do this, notice that even though I've graded these, the little blue starburst is there saying, I have not read this. The only way you can make sure those starbursts are marked as read is by going into the discussions themselves and marking them as read. So this summer, what I found myself doing is I would go into the grade book, I would grade everything that was there at that point, after the deadline. Then I would come to the discussion board and quickly mark everything as read. And what was nice about that is that once I had marked everything as read, if someone submitted something late, it would flag. It would show up either under the discussions list as a new posting, a new posting here, and or it would show up in the grade book with a little icon and the little blue sunburst saying new, you haven't looked at it. I know this was a long video, but there's a lot of stuff there. I hope you find it interesting and exciting and not too overwhelming. If you have questions or you want to swing by the office if you're around, or if you want to set up a webinar to chat with me, I'm happy to do so.